It's a sixplex and it has a garage. I paid $365 for it. I've renovated 5 of the 6 units so far. My projected is going to be around $100,000. It might be a little bit more. Having a better layout and having it, we're going to have exposed brick and all that stuff, adding in suite laundry and dishwasher and all those strategic renovations, that's really where you get that premium rent. So it's not just about asking for these crazy rents, you have to justify them in some way. If you were to put something on the market and it meets the 1% rule right now, you'd get flooded with people offering more than that. So the cash flow, I'm projecting it to be around $3,500 a month. So I do pay all the utilities. So I'll explain how I've kind of kept some of those costs down.
Hey YouTube, today we're meeting up with Kellan. He's the co-host of the On Fire podcast with myself, and in today's video we're going to be diving into his sixplex. Right now he's got 2 of the units gutted that he's currently renovating on this sixplex. And it's actually kind of an interesting story how he even found this deal. It was a private off-market deal. I'd originally stumbled upon the deal like a year before Kellan. I'd let it die and just completely had forgotten about it. Kellan stepped in, he got introduced to it by I think a painter or a contractor. He ended up taking it the full length and found a win-win opportunity with the seller on this sixplex, and now I'm kind of kicking myself for not buying this property. It looks fantastic. The unit we're going to dive into today, Kellan's got peeled right back to the studs. It was extremely rough when we'd walked through it when Kellan was looking at buying, but it's really just awesome to see him taking action and crushing deals that a lot of other people would overlook or say can't be done. So let's dive into this video and Kellan's going to break down the numbers for us on this sixplex renovation. Alright, so now Kellan's going to dive into the numbers on this unique sixplex he's got in London, Ontario in the Old East Village. So what are we looking at here, Kellan?
So I bought this property, I believe it was late 2017, early 2018, and I paid $365 for it. It's a sixplex and it has a garage. So that is a really good price. It was, not in the current market, but at the time this was still a crazy price. And the reason is it was filled with really challenging tenants and I don't know, all sorts of issues with police presence and all sorts of that. So
some deferred maintenance as well.
Yeah, a ton of deferred maintenance. Basically all the units needed to be gutted, and the seller wasn't willing to provide anything vacant. So it was kind of a thing where I had to take on existing tenants and kind of deal with that for quite a while. It's been about 2 years now. So
really, it's been that long?
I think so. I haven't actually looked, but yeah. So
this was a private sale, right?
Yeah. So there was a previous seller. Actually, at one point it was an expired listing. So I found it through networking with like a painter of all things. So people are always trying to find, how do you find private deals? And like in this case, it was just talking to everybody. And like most people, when they're trying to find private deals, they tend to be networking with other investors. Mm-hmm. But other investors want the deals too. So it doesn't make as much sense as it does to me to network with people outside of just real estate, because we're already doing that. So network with, Matt's given the tip before, your pest control guy, which I love that tip, because they're in the shittiest properties. They're the one, those are the properties that you want to buy. So offer a finder's fee to these people. And actually this person brought me the deal or brought me in touch with the owner. And when I purchased the property, he didn't even know he was going to get a finder's fee. And I just one day asked him what his email was and sent him an e-transfer.
And it's really important that you be patient with that strategy as well, right? It's not like you talk to 5 painters and then in 5 days you get 5 deals.
It's a long game. It's definitely a long game. But we're all in this for probably somewhat of a long game. I mean, I've only been doing this for 3 years, so I guess it's not that long. But a year or so out, if you're putting seeds and planting them everywhere, you're gonna get deals brought to you. And if you're offering that $1,000 finder's fee, you're gonna be top of mind when people are thinking about when they get in touch with some owner who might be willing to sell. You're the guy who comes to mind. I had another property in the same Old East Village here, and somebody actually brought me that deal, even though they worked on a daily basis with another investor. They brought the deal to me, and it was because I offered a finder's fee. Mm-hmm. And so I actually ended up giving him even more than I originally had planned. And I got cute with that one. I ended up actually asking the guy to talk to the owners, because he was also managing the property. I said to him, look, if you can kind of convince them it's worth a little bit less, then I'll give you an extra $500 on your finder's fee. So when he entered the conversation, he's like, well, it's because they lived in Toronto, they hadn't actually been around, so they're like, well, it's not in the greatest shape and whatever, and they just they are connected with that person, and so he was able to kind of anchor them at a lower price, and I was able to buy it like that. So it's about setting up the incentives with these people and making sure you're top of mind.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So then on this, we had a lot of deferred maintenance. The units had just been kind of neglected for a while, so it's a pretty big renovation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people tend to be kind of blown away by some of the renovation costs I have. So I've renovated 5 of the 6 units so far. My projected is going to be around $100,000. It might be a little bit more, but that's not a ton of money for that many units, considering a lot of them needed to be gutted. But it's about being strategic with it, and about for me honestly, one of the key success factors is working with people by the hour. It's a challenge because you have to stay on top of people, and you're going to get screwed sometimes where they said they were here for 10 hours and nothing got done. But overall, I found that it tends to keep the cost down. So my renovation's around $100,000 or so once all things are said and done. And I'm expecting it to have an ARV of around 600 or so when I'm done. This is over a 2-year period. I knew this was going to be a long play, but overall, it should be a really good BRRRR. I haven't even done the math based on a refinance, but yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, and then so when you originally bought this property, it was being used as a 6-plex. 6-plexes in Canada sometimes can be a little tricky to finance.
Yeah.
Do you mind going into that a little bit further?
Yeah. So like 6-plexes, there's a challenge because the big lenders are looking at big multifamily stuff, but they're not going to be looking at 6-plex. They're going to look at 12 plus, that kind of thing. And the small guys like Scotiabank and whatever, they like 4 units or less, and they won't look at anything over 4. So RBC and Desjardins in Canada are 2 of the options that you can actually finance 5 and 6 unit buildings. So I went and I got a mortgage on this with RBC, and you get it with 20% down. It was like a 2.6 something percent.
Oh wow, nice. Yeah. So still great interest rates.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I recommend that, like the 5 and 6 unit buildings, when I see those pop on the market, I get excited because I know you'll see a lot of times those are the properties falling through on financing, because a lot of the small time buyers have no idea they're a challenge to finance.
So you're kind of trying to carve out a niche in that space.
I try. I mean, I have a 5-plex and a 6-plex. They don't come up very often, and this one in particular is actually just a big house that was converted into 6 units. So it's not one of those square red brick buildings. It's a house that looks like a grand mansion from the outside, and yeah,
and so part of the reason that we're saying estimated ARV is because this place is a big house that's been converted into 6 units, so it's difficult to find comparables, right?
It's a challenge.
So how would you go about, are we kind of looking at it on a gross rents basis, a per unit basis?
Yeah. So I mean, by the time it's done, it's going to projected rents around $59.50 a month, and that includes a garage that gets rented out as well for $600. So based on gross rents being just under $6,000 a month, I'm just saying based on the 1% rule, it's got to be worth at least $600,000. If you were to put something on the market and it meets the 1% rule right now, you'd get flooded with people offering more than that. So I think it's a pretty conservative estimate.
Yeah, and let's dive back a second there. You said $600 a month for a garage. I'm sure a bunch of people are going to jump in the comments and ask, what WTF is going on with that garage?
Well, it's in the middle of a really popular neighborhood in London at this point. Well, popular is maybe not the way to describe it, but a gentrifying neighborhood that people do actually really want to be in now. So for them to be able to have a garage here, it's in massive demand. When I list it, I get all sorts of people who want to access it. People want to run businesses out of it, so you're not really allowed doing that, but there's significant demand. This one has a washroom in it, so it has plumbing, gas, and it's all insulated, and I ended up adding a furnace there this weekend. So it's heated and it's got a washroom, so people can actually stay in there and work. They don't have to leave and go to Tim Hortons to run to the washroom,
Yeah, no, I love it. And
Canadian.
These gross rents are amazing compared to where you're at, and even factoring in your renovation costs.
I think they've about doubled. So I don't remember what the original rents were, but probably somewhere around $3,600 a month when I bought it. So like this unit was rented for, that we're in right now, is rented for $750 or so when I got it, and by the end it was like $763 from like the 1.8% increase I was able to give. But now it's going to be more than double that. So it's going to be at least $1,500, maybe $1,600. We'll give a bit of a tour in a bit, but it's going to have exposed brick, dishwasher, gas stove, in-suite laundry, good ceiling height, pot lights everywhere. So it should be an easy sell.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So the cash flow, I'm projecting it to be around $3,500 a month, and then I budget about $500 for vacancy and maintenance. So a lot of people tend to look at that number. I like to look at the after vacancy and maintenance number, so it's going to end up around $3,000 a month before refinance. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to structure this, but by the end I should be around $3,000 a month. Maybe if I end up, having another $1,000 a month on the mortgage, then it'll cash flow about $2,000. But like, if your goal is financial independence, it doesn't take very many of these properties to be able to reach financial independence with cash flow like this.
Yeah, and so are you paying for all the utilities in this property? This
property has one hydrometer and one gas meter, so I do pay all the utilities. So I'll explain how I've kind of kept some of those costs down. It is a significant bill, but you just work it into your numbers, and that's still what you end up with.
Now Kellan's going to be giving us a tour of his currently under renovation unit in a sixplex. Hey, what's up, Kellan?
How's it going?
Appreciate you taking the time to show us around.
No worries.
So what are we looking at? It looks like a blank slate right now.
Yeah, so I have some footage of what this unit looked like before and photos, but one of those units where nicotine's dripping from the walls, and once again super under rented. This was $765 a month after I'd bumped the rents up a little bit to whatever I could. But this was a bedroom before, and there was a double wall, so a wall here with a space and then another wall. So the kitchen looked smaller and the bedroom looked smaller. By the time we took it out, we ended up opening it up. So now this is actually going to be the living room / dining room. Kitchen's still going to be behind you, and then we're going to have a bedroom there and a bedroom there and a nice big bathroom there. So it's a much better layout, and we'll have an island here with an eat-at breakfast bar. A lot of times in these units you don't actually have the ability to offer a proper dining room. It's not a house like a single family, so you just do a lot of breakfast bars and kind of offer space wherever you can.
Awesome. So how do you go about deciding how you're going to do the layout in a property like this?
I mean, a lot of times if you can, try and have the kitchen and living room and dining room in the same area. So like, I actually lived in a house where I had kitchen here and living room over here and a hallway in between, and like, it's not an enjoyable experience. When you have people over, they're hanging out in the living room, you want to go into the kitchen and get something, you can't keep talking, so it's nice to have a layout like that. Ideally, if you can, have the bedrooms on opposite sides, and I do here, but sometimes you got to have them side by side. But like, look at where your structural walls are. Try and deal with like, if you need to put a beam in where you're taking out an exterior or a structural wall and need to put a beam in, then you can do that. But if you can keep with the existing structure, then that's helpful. It's also nice to be able to kind of keep the plumbing in a similar spot, kind of keeps those costs down as well.
You mentioned earlier, Kellan, that you expect quite a rent bump on this unit.
Yeah.
How much of that is just from the unit being rented out below market, and how much of that's from like strategic renovations and optimizing the layout?
It's a good question. I think if I'd done a lipstick flip on this unit, probably it'd be a 2-bedroom. It'd probably rent for maybe $1,200 or so. I would have to do all new paint and flooring and lights and clean things up, but like, it makes no sense to do that with this unit. Having a better layout and having it, we're gonna have exposed brick and all that stuff, adding in suite laundry and dishwasher and all those strategic renovations, that's really where you get that premium rent. So it's not just about asking for these crazy rents, you have to justify them in some way.
Yeah, do you mind, you kind of said them quick there, but can you rhyme off all the different kind of strategic renovations you're usually implementing to get top rent?
Yeah, sure. So I tend to do vinyl plank flooring throughout. I do subway tile, both because it helps protect the property, but also it's got a really great wow factor, and generally it's not going to be something that goes out of style. IKEA kitchens with Hageby doors, just because they're the cheapest ones they offer. They're white and they look nice and modern. I tend to do pot lights when I can if I'm gutting the ceilings. Make sure that obviously your plumbing and electrical are updated. Add closets whenever you can to the bedrooms, dishwasher, in-suite laundry. If you can do quartz countertops, great, but I tend to do a lot of IKEA stuff. In here I may end up doing quartz, but IKEA is great because they're like $80 for a countertop, and you just rip it to the size you need. If you end up with like funky things like old walls where they're kind of bowed in, then it can be a challenge to deal with IKEA, so it's nice to get a template made and go with quartz. But those tend to be kind of the strategic renos that I tend to do in order to get top rents.
Awesome. Do you mind just showing us around a bit more?
Yeah, sure. So once again, we got the kitchen behind you, and then we've got the living room / dining room over here, and on the left we got one of the bedrooms. So in here, we added a closet, and we actually ended up gutting the ceiling, and we saw that it was kind of a cathedral style. So we're gonna end up doing spray foam on the ceiling, and then we're gonna drywall with like high up as we can with pot lights. So it'll make this room feel a lot bigger. And then right there, we've got exposed brick. So that's gonna be a beautiful feature for this bedroom. And then, so we got the hallway down here. I tend to avoid hallways whenever you can in a layout. They tend to be wasted space, but here, the framing was already here. The layout is actually already great, so I kept it. This is just the access to the basement. We're just gonna put a door there. Here we've got a nice big bathroom. So we're gonna have a stand-up, we're gonna have a tub here with subway tile, of course, and then we're gonna have a wall built right here, and then we're gonna put 27-inch stacked washer dryer. This house actually has coin-op laundry, but in this unit I wanted top rents, and generally people don't want shared laundry if you're paying rents like that, so in-suite laundry, and in a unit like this it does include all utilities, so it's really important to screen your tenants well and get people that aren't gonna go crazy with that. Yeah, toilet here, vanity here, and that's about this bathroom. And then right here, we've got the big bedroom. So we're gonna keep some exposed brick right there. And then we have a nice big closet here. It's gonna run the whole width of this with a light inside that'll be motion activated, so when you open it up, this will really appeal to anyone who's got lots of clothes. Tend to be lots of girls are gonna love a unit like this. And yeah, we're gonna be keeping these windows and cleaning them up, pot lights throughout here, and we're gonna replace those windows over there, which I forgot to point out. Oh yeah, so we're gonna have fridge here, gas stove here, and sink in front of the window with the dishwasher there. It may seem like not the perfect layout, but I had to figure out, I only had so much wall space to put the appliances on, and I want to vent the range hood out properly. It's not just a circulating range hood. When you're doing a circulating range hood, the problem is you have to replace those filters every year, or every however amount of time, and I'd rather just have something that vents straight outside. You don't have to come back and have these reoccurring costs. So we're venting it straight up and out the roof. And we're probably gonna put an island right here as well with the Eat at Breakfast bar.
Thanks again to Kellan for taking the time to sit down with us and break down the numbers on this renovation. If you guys want to follow along with Kellan on his journey, check him out on Instagram. That's kellan.pan on Instagram. Jump over, make sure he's always posting all kinds of different stories and posts around his real estate investing journey. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and until next time, remember, making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money in this world for us to all make it, but if you're not saving it, what's the point? Thanks, guys.